Welcome to a very important episode of Three Guys and an iPad. You know, we like to call ourselves the proverbial water cooler of the mortgage industry. But today, we're going to talk about something that isn't just being discussed at the water cooler. It should be discussed anywhere there's an honest conversation going on. This is much larger than the mortgage industry. So today, we're not going to do the top 10. We're not going to do an Are You Kidding Me? We're just going to have a conversation. In fact, it's going to be an uncomfortable conversation. But as our special guest will tell you, uncomfortable conversations help us grow. Today, we're going to talk about issues of race and racism in America as seen through the eyes of a successful African-American professional. Our special guest today hails from Atlanta, Georgia, and he's the son of a 25-year military veteran. He's originally from Sumter, South Carolina, where he attended the University of South Carolina and had the honor of playing football for the legendary coach Lou Holtz. He went on to work in the NFL for years, after which he joined Southeast Mortgage. Over the next 15 years of his career, he worked his way all the way up from the ground level, from a call center to becoming a completely self-sourced LMO. Currently, our guest is an executive vice president with Southeast Mortgage, where he's in charge of the development of MLOs, social media strategies, production of media, digital strategies, recruiting, value adds, brand awareness, and more. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to present Shaun Graham.
So good afternoon, Three Guys and an iPad. My name's Kevin Breeland, and I'm with Amplify Credit Union. And today we have a special segment with two-time guest, Shaun Graham from Southeast Mortgage in Atlanta, Georgia. And as you can see, I have with me Rick Grant today from Content Beacon and RG. Well, you'll have to say what they all are. I forget what they are, Rick. You have so many different credentials there. But our segment today really is we want to talk about what's happening in our society. And Shaun, we wanted you to, we asked to have you on because you can give us a perspective that obviously Rick and I can't. And so with that, we had some discussions about what we thought was appropriate and what we thought we should be doing, and how Three Guys and an iPad can actually extend this conversation to a broader audience. And of course, you're a very eloquent spokesperson. And reading your post over the last couple of weeks, it has. I can tell you that personally, Shaun, it has tugged at me in a way that I've never been tugged at before. And so with all that being said, I just want to, I first of all want to say I appreciate your time. I appreciate your viewpoints. And I appreciate how from the heart that you come when you're speaking on this topic, and really any topic. If anybody gets to know you, they see that when you're talking from the heart. You're not talking from off the cuff. You're very thoughtful about what you want to say and how you want to say it, and really a gentleman's gentleman. So with that, I appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Those kind words, man. I really appreciate them myself, and I'm excited to actually be with you guys and sit down and have a conversation and see where it leads. Like, this is nothing. It's nothing scripted. This is something that we're just, hey, let's just sit down and talk, and kind of go from there. So I hope that people will appreciate the honesty, the candor, hearing different or multiple opinions and points of views, and hopefully we can shed light on where there is some darkness.
Well, with that, one of the posts that you did, and I think it was, and I could be wrong, so I apologize if I get the date wrong, but I think it was the day after the death of Mr. Floyd. Mm-hmm. You posted in regards to and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't remember the exact words, but paraphrase it was, how do I have this conversation with my children? How does this happen? And on top of that, how do I have this conversation with my son? And when I read that, I really thought three things. The first was, I never had to do that. So I don't, it never dawned on me that that was a conversation that took place in a household. And then the second part was, how did your dad or grandfather or uncle have that conversation with you? And then how did you have it with your children and your son? If you don't mind sharing that.
So I would tell you this, is sometimes when you achieve some level of success,
Mm-hmm.
You kind of feel that certain situations may not affect you as much as others. And what Mr. Floyd's situation and many other situations have happened, it always is a reminder in your head of who you are, how much you're valued, and at the end of the day, it could have been me.
Mm-hmm.
And it is something that, this is just a couple weeks before we had another young guy named Ahmad who was shot in a neighborhood in Georgia by some vigilantes, and for no reason, but just jogging in the neighborhood. He was, chased down with a truck and shot. That made national news. And a couple weeks later, now we're here in this other position. And the more and more I'm thinking, I'm an avid runner since COVID came around. Since I can't go play basketball, I've been running. So right now, since April, I've run 105 miles. I'm not a marathon or anything like that. It's just something I need to do to run to keep myself in some kind of decent shape. Unless when this thing is over with, I'm going to be as big as Refrigerator Perry. Okay, so I had to get out and start doing something. And I was like, man, that could have been me out here jogging, because I'm jogging through neighborhoods just like he is. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then you see what happened to Mr. Floyd is like, man, it's a constant reminder that it could be you. And that turn around, I looked at my son because he started seeing some stuff in the news. Now, mind you, my son is only 4 years old. Okay. But in the African-American community, we get stopped in the neighborhood 8, 9, 10 years old. Okay. And how do you address that situation? If you guys remember the Trayvon Martin story, he's still a young kid. He was 14 years old.
Yep.
And as a parent, regardless of race, sex, gender, whatever it may be, as a parent, you will do anything to protect your kids.
Yeah.
All right. Like, I will go homeless before they will. I will go hungry before they will. I will take a bullet before they will. This is as a like, as a I remember this. Before I had my kid, before I had my daughter, and I used to get upset with people who had kids because they always want to show you pictures of their kids. They always want, like, oh, look at my daughter. They took their first step, or they just look at Susie has chocolate on her face. And I'm just like, that's ridiculous to me when you don't have kids. And then as soon as you have a child, your whole phone turns to nothing but kid pictures. And then you're like, man, look what Breeland did. Look what, Brooklyn did. It changes into that matter. So as a parent, you are now more alert to certain things. You're more cognizant of certain things. And I live in a neighborhood that is going through a lot of gentrification. So my kid is going to go to a school with a lot of people that does not look like him. However, when you're a kid, you just play. You don't know any better. That's how it should be. You just go to school. Hey, he likes PJ Masks. My kid likes PJ Masks. Hey, he likes to run fast. The other kid likes to run fast. I like Barbie dolls. You like Barbie dolls. We have so much in common. We have so much in common. And it just struck me like, man, at some point, I'm going to have to teach my kid about the rules of society, the unwritten rules of society. And I just was thinking to myself, like, man, what can I do with my voice to make a difference in my lifetime? What could I possibly do to make the small change in the people that I come in contact with? Because, I do mortgages. Mortgages are great. They provide a living. They provide a living for me. But I think my life is more than just, making a couple of dollars here and there. I want to be remembered for more. I want to be impactful. If God gave me the opportunity to have a voice, and He's gave me the opportunity to have a platform, I don't know if you guys go to church at all, but God gave people certain talents, right? One person did nothing with those talents, and this other person buried their talents. Another person, they used their talents, And I don't want to be in a position to where, God gave me certain gifts, and I only used them in one bucket, when His purpose for me was to use them for a mass. Like, I don't know if they're good enough to use for a mass audience. But for me, it was like, man, I've got to sit down and have these stories with my son. How are you going to act? How will you react in these situations? The same stories that were passed down from my father, because my dad right now is like 70. My dad's 78 years old. Okay, so him growing up, society was a totally different era. I mean, he's a Vietnam vet, and so it was different for him, from being, either going to be elected to go to the Army, or you're going to be drafted into the Army and forced. And you have to, and you don't have rights when you get back home from fighting wars. And you see a lot of your friends who you went with are now no longer with you. And people came back with, addictions, heroin addictions, and how did he make it? And then you come back home, and then you're not respected when you get back home. It's just, they teach you. My dad taught me how to be respectful, utmost respect. I grew up in the South, so it's always yes, sir, no, sir. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. You look people in the eyes, be respectful as you can. And then when it comes to a police officer, you do the same thing. You can do the same thing. However, sometimes yes, ma'am, and no, ma'ams, no, sir, yes, sir, it doesn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. And at that point, what do you do? And the thing I really thought about it is if my son is 16 years old and he's on the ground in a position like Mr. Floyd, could I even step in and help? Would I even be able to be in a position to even step in and help? Like, we all consider that we would like to do something. If you don't want to see somebody die right in front of you.
Well, no, we can't even let it get to that point, Shaun. We got to figure out what to do to make that never happen. And we have time. Your son's only 4, right? So we have time. The problem is we look at the world and we don't see what you see. So people say, fix it. And we're like, fix what? When we see police officers, they treat us in a totally different way. We don't even know what you're talking about. How can we help?
So unfortunately, Mr. Floyd, lost his life, but it is now shedding light on a situation. But I'm often reminded, as an African American, this has already happened in history before. So if you guys are familiar with the story of Emmett Till, and what happened to him. So you guys aren't familiar with Emmett Till?
I am a little bit.
I'm not.
All right. So this happened back right before civil rights. You know, it was during the marches and stuff like that. But Emmett Till, and you can look this story up. Emmett Till is a young 14-year-old, again, African-American, came down from New York. And in New York, it wasn't as segregated as it down here in the South, okay? And he came to visit family. You know, in our communities, instead of going on vacation, we usually send people to their grandmother's house, or, you know, we don't have a lot of money, so you gotta go stay with your grandmother, your in-laws, or whatever, down south, all right? So he was in that position, and he went out to the store, getting some candy, and he made a comment to a Caucasian woman, okay? And it wasn't derogatory. The words that he said was, you know, like nice day, babe. Okay? Today's society, that's really not much, right? You know, you can't get away with that in the workplace. In some people's workplaces you can, but it's not something that's going to get you killed. Long story short, you know, some guy showed up to his house, and where he was staying with his uncle. They dragged him out the house. They beat him, they shot him, they put him behind a car, and they drove miles down the road and sent his body upriver, okay? And they have the images online right now. So his mother, when it came time for a casket, she refused to have a closed casket, okay? It's a really bad situation. And what it did, it raised the concerns to white Americans now. It made the press, okay? And it raised concerns of white Americans, okay? It was the first time. They knew stuff was happening in the South. They knew it, but they didn't really know it. It's kind of like how you guys are right now today. You know some African Americans will get killed and being wrong, but it doesn't really hit you until it really kind of sinks in like this story will do. And from that moment, that's when you started getting certain bills passed. Okay, we had a lot of white involvement as well too. Okay, unfortunately, you know, the two men who did this to them, of course, he was in front of a white judge, white jury, and they got let go. Okay, so you know, we're right back in that same situation right here. You know, and too often times people are caught on camera for certain situations, and they're let go. You know, and just like you guys, I know that there's great cops out there. I know that. But just like the saying goes, is, you know, a few bad apples can spoil the bunch. And because we keep seeing things like this over and over, things happen like this over and over, it taints your memory. It taints your head, you know? And, you know, a lot of guys are saying like, hey, you should do certain peaceful protests, okay? You should do peaceful. You should do things peacefully, okay? Well, if you know, in my mortgage industry, we always go off history is the greatest teacher, right? Experience is the greatest teacher. All that good stuff. That's what they teach you. Well, in our history, the last time we did have very, very peaceful protests, what happened? What happened? You know,
Dr. King got assassinated.
Yeah,
the leader got assassinated. Dogs were unleashed on peaceful protesters. Yep. Billy clubs were sent up across their heads. Fire hydrants and hoses were turned on the people, and we're not talking about like a little water hose hitting you. If you ever done pressure washing at your house, and you actually know that you can take your toes off if the water hits your toes. So these are high-powered water hoses that are going against you. So it's a lot of mixed emotions, especially from an African American standpoint. You don't know really what to trust because some of the people that are that we're paying to protect us. We're part of that paying class, just like you guys are a tax-paying class. They're paid to protect us. And you're not getting that. We don't feel that you're getting that protection. You know, like a military guy, we're paying for our military. We expect to have some kind of protection, not for our military to turn against us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the police side of it, we just want the same protections as you have, and don't feel scared the way you have. And Kevin, this is the thing about it, like that post I made, and I try to be particular when I do state certain things, okay? Because you know nowadays you can alienate anybody by saying something too far, too right, too left. You try to keep right there in neutral ground. And I had a guy who went to school with me from elementary school until we graduated. I'm from a small country town, so you know me. And he responds to my post, and he's like, "Hey, he said, just teach your son how to respect cops, and he won't have any problems." Well,
do you believe that?
It's easy for you to say. It's easy for you to say. Because a lot of people, we respect is shown. Respect is just not given. And it becomes very frustrating at the end of the day. So,
well, you know, in thinking through this, so a couple of things that I would like to share. So, you know, every day we can find something on the internet or on the news about this event and the events around the country that have been spurred because of it. But one person that I know, I mean, I don't know him very, very well, but I know him. I sat next to a plane one time for an hour and a half and had his undivided attention, is Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina. And Senator Scott, if you've ever had the opportunity to meet him, very genuine, nice, well-spoken person. And he was on the Today Show today. And he was talking about legislation that he has been leading the charge to get passed that sets some standards in in policing, set some standards in how federal funds should be appropriated for police forces who take certain training as opposed to police forces who doesn't. But then he went on to say that, and actually, Craig, I can't remember Craig's last name, but Craig and Al Roker were both interviewing him. And Craig brought up this anti-lynching law. Now, I'd never even heard that there was anything at the federal level regarding anti-lynching. And they had started having this conversation. And this legislation has gone before the House and Senate 200 times and has not passed yet. And I'm serious, Shaun. I was dumbfounded by the fact that the people that we elect and send to Washington couldn't pass something like that. Now, if it's because of certain language or whatever, that's one thing. But to me, anti-lynching is pretty easy to describe.
Correct.
I mean, I'm from the South. I have a clear understanding as to what that looks like. And the reality of it is I was just blown away that this legislation has gone 200 times and still has not been passed. And that makes me mad. That makes me mad because we shouldn't be living in a country where that's even a topic.
That's exactly what I'm thinking, Kevin. Why do we even need a law?
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
It is. I mean, this is we're not a lawless society, and yet, these kinds of I was just blown away. And I'm a product of the South. I mean, I grew up, and I'll say this, I grew up in a little town where the railroad tracks divided the town. And, and I guarantee you, your dad knows exactly what I'm talking about. And when the railroad stopped coming through our town and they pulled up the tracks, they didn't get rid of the hill. I mean, that dividing line stayed for 20 years after, before it was totally removed. And now the town, there is no dividing line. But for most of my life as a young boy, that's how the South was for me. And one of the reasons why I spent 22 years in Alaska is when I went there with the sole purpose of I wanted to find out how the rest of the world lived, because I did not totally believe the way I was, the environment I was brought up in was really the way it was everywhere. And I learned that wasn't the case. And I thought one of the things that I did as a father raising my children was for them to not see color. And I've come to learn that maybe that was the wrong thing, that maybe they should see color so that they can see what level of injustice occurs. And I never thought of it in that manner. I thought of, if I see you, Shaun, the same way I see Rick, that's how it should be. There's no color involved there. You're a man, Rick's a man, you're both professionals in your business, you're well respected, and the kind of people that I like to associate with, because we're not completely like-minded, but we have a lot of things in common, and we can get along, and we can share a drink together, and we can do all of those things and be good friends. And it never dawned on me that raising my children to not see color might have been the exact opposite thing of what I should have done. I mean, the amount of things that I have just been flooded with over the last 2 weeks reading, and things that I thought I was doing right that may not have been right, has just been astonishing to me. But to have a United States senator, a black senator, having to fight for an anti-lynching law just is, just makes me angry. And
Hey, look, in Mississippi in 2013, slavery was just abolished. Okay?
Yeah.
2013.
Wait.
You got to think, let that sink in. Okay?
Wait, am I hearing you right?
You heard me absolutely correct. In the state of Mississippi. So, I was telling guys, like, at the end of the day, and I'm going to sum up the African American plight. Listen, I was telling guys at work, look, I expect a level of discrimination. I expect that, okay? And you know what? I'm okay with it, and that's sad, okay? But I already expect it, okay? And only thing I'm really outraged about is, like, I can accept certain forms of discrimination, all right? However, what I can't accept is not having the ability to make it home to my family.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, you're in mortgages. And I want you guys to, let's start opening your eyes up to what really happens. Like, you guys don't know this, but find next black guy that you know that does mortgages. The next black realtor that you know that sells houses. Ask them how comfortable they are with putting their picture on their business cards. Just ask them that question. And I guarantee you're going to get the same response, because they're nervous about putting their pictures on their business cards, because we automatically know that people are discriminating against us already. I will not get the same opportunity as you. I will not get that same opportunity as you, okay? If you look at your corporations, I'll tell you guys right now today, I am watching a report, like a conference on Housing Wire, and they're bringing in all the industry experts to talk about marketing and different things you can do in marketing. I can tell you right now, I have not seen one African-American person. I haven't seen one. You know what? I don't expect to see one. If you go to the Mortgage Bankers Association, you go to the chain in mortgage companies, okay? Go up the chain in finance companies, and you can see we're not going to get an opportunity. We're not going to get a chance, okay? And that's one thing that frustrates me. You know, it's when you go to, you've been in the business many years, Kevin. Name me how many Black company owners that you know in a mortgage industry, or CEOs of mortgage companies.
I don't know any.
Of builders across America.
Yeah. And when you mentioned that, there hasn't been one Black MBA chairman.
You think? Now,
and I'm sure there are many qualified men who could do that.
All right. So, you go to Atlanta. We have a good number of minorities here. I think we had our first Black president of a Atlanta board for realtors probably, I don't want to lie, probably about 3-4 years ago. Our first one.
Really?
We probably won't have another one for the next 50 years. Who knows? But it's the same story everywhere. Now, I just said mortgage industry, but you can look at any industry. You look at your large tech firms. You look at your major banks, your CEOs of hospitals, your owners of NFL teams, owners of Major League Baseball teams, universities. And it's tough. It's tough. Even the movie production companies, who runs it? How can you get an opportunity here? So there's a level of discrimination. When I said, I'm used to a certain level of discrimination, it's because of some of those reasons like that. I have an uphill battle when I walk out the house. I already know I have an uphill battle to face. And guess what? I'm not making any excuses for it. I'm a competitor. I'm not going to make any excuses for it. Okay? Because here's one thing I know that you can keep. You can always say, woe is me. You can always say, they don't like me because of this. Sorry, client trying to call me. They don't like me because of this, or whatever it may be. And it could be true. But however, I can't stay stuck there. And that's why I want to clarify that comment. I said, I'm used to a certain level of discrimination, but at the end of the day, I just want to make it home.
Yeah, but Shaun, we're not talking about the difference between somebody who didn't get to go to an Ivy League school or something else. We're talking about a real serious systemic problem that causes you and your family to be afraid. That is a serious problem. As a white person in America, we're left frustrated because we don't know whether we can help or we should get out of the way or. All
right. So, Rick, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
All right. So what makes you want to help right now? Why is it like everybody's sense of urgency has now starting to realize,
all right, I'll tell you that.
Why now?
I'll answer that question and try to do it without getting emotional. The Floyd situation to me did not particularly touch me. I've seen that before. I think it's a problem with the way those systems are set up, and that's a problem that we can easily solve. But when I hear another father, there's a good, yeah. I'd have to edit all this part out.
No, it's good. You think we all have that same emotion, and that's what I'm talking about. We all have that same emotion about our kids. We all have that same emotion about our mothers and our fathers, and our brothers and our cousins. We have that same emotion. And that's one thing that connects every human being on the planet. And at the end of the day, we want them to be safe. We want them to make a home. We want them to have the opportunity, even if they did bad. You know, we all know we have a bad cousin out here that's not doing right. We all know we have a friend that's not doing things correctly. But even if they're not doing stuff correctly, you know, they still deserve to live. They still to be. There's a due process to everything. Yeah. This is what we voted on.
And the reality of it is, you know, regardless of, and I mean, I'll just put this out there, regardless of what kind of person Mr. Floyd might have been, he didn't deserve that. He didn't deserve to lose his life on the ground with someone holding his neck down with their knee. He didn't deserve that. He deserved his opportunity for his day in court. He deserved his opportunity for due process. But more importantly, more than anything, he deserved to be treated as a person. And in that scenario, he was not. And I will tell you what bothers me to no end. I have a nephew who's black. I love him to death. Mm-hmm. And he and my racially mixed niece got married, and now they have a son, Bo. Now, Bo is as cute as the day is long, but Bo looks like you, Shaun. He doesn't look like me. Mm-hmm. I don't want this to happen for him. Mm-hmm. I don't want Jamal to have that conversation with Bo, or you have that conversation with your son, because we shouldn't live in a society that society should not require that. You know, the conversation that all fathers should have with their sons should be about how you respect others, treat others as you want to be treated, and has nothing to do with what you look like. It has to do with doing the thing that, you know, in God's eyes that we were brought up to believe in. Mm-hmm. And because I have a black nephew doesn't make me more sensitive to this topic. It's because I have a black nephew that maybe for the first time I saw this differently. Mm-hmm. That I was like, wow, Jamal has a son. And when you wrote what you wrote, that went through my mind. What is he going to say to Bo? And for that matter, I don't want Bo to look at me differently. You know, I mean, I know that sounds selfish, and I apologize for that. But, you know, I want everyone, when Bo's with me, to see us the same. Mm-hmm. That this is my great nephew, and he is great. And that's just how it is. And he's going to accomplish great things. And he has a great mother and a great father, and they're good people, and he deserves every opportunity that this world can give him. You know, so that's what the heightened awareness is for me. Is I will honestly tell you that the Trayvon Martin incident was horrendous. You know, Mark Brown in St. Louis was horrendous, and this just has to stop. I mean, it just has to stop. Well, you should have every opportunity that I have.
Well, here's a question I want to ask, Shaun, and Kevin, you were talking about young people. I'm seeing a whole different attitude among young people in the neighborhoods I live in and work in. Are you seeing that too, Shaun? And does it give you hope that ours may be the last generation where we have problems to this degree?
You know, Rick, I'm a very optimistic and positive guy. I find a silver lining in everything. But to be truthfully honest, I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. So if you just go back to the 60s, and I'm just going back to the 60s, there's a group called the Freedom Riders. Okay? Freedom Riders. You can guys look them up as well too. But it's blacks and whites came together and rode the buses for change. This is the young guys. They wanted to fight what was happening. They wanted to show where the injustices were. It's the same thing that's going on right now. What we're doing right now, we're using our social media platforms to kind of show the injustice, you know. But, you know, and at every move, there's a slight change. There's a slight change. Something will change from this, okay? But you guys got to remember, this is 400 plus years of suppression. It's 400 plus years of things that's engraved into people's psyche. Like, another thing, I think it's called the blue-eye, brown-eye experiment. You gotta watch that as well too, because after you're told something so often and so many times, you start believing that you are what they say you are. Okay, where it's written into articles in DC where African Americans is a third of a man. We're less than that. It sounds good. It's good right now. I think this is a very long time. This process has been brewing, and I'm glad it's being able to talk to. I think we can make some changes. I do think the younger generation, they're not stuck. Like say for instance, when you grew up, you didn't access many people outside your area. You didn't know who they were. I think we grew up. If you want to meet somebody from a different area, we used to call them pen pals. So you would write that way. Okay. Nowadays, you do have things like social media where I get a chance to talk to Rick. I would have never had a chance to talk to Rick. I would have never had a chance to talk to Kevin. We are able to communicate. One thing I do like about this is I tell guys all the time, listen, I can have a total different opinion, okay? You can have a total different opinion. That does not mean I don't like you. You see what I'm saying? It's like, hey, if you tell me you like peach cobbler, I hate peach cobbler. And I love ice cream and you hate ice cream. That doesn't mean I do not like you as a person. One thing I don't get in this country is even if you classify yourself as a Democrat or my phone's ringing, sorry about that. If you classify yourself as a Democrat or you classify yourself as a Republican, why can't we talk?
Exactly.
Why can't we talk? Listen, here's the thing is, like, people think just because you may be protesting right now for Black Lives Matter, that means that you don't like cops. It's not true. My roommates in college, remember, I play football, okay? So a lot of the guys who play football with me, guess what they are? Because they couldn't get other jobs, they had to go into the police department. They're already in shape. They're already bigger than most people. So they're now on their police enforcement, okay? So those are good buddies of mine. Guys I went in the trenches with, so of course I care, what happened to. I want nothing to happen to my roommate, okay? I don't want anything to happen to any. I just want people to, we have to see that there's some things that need to change. Has to change. No doubt about it. But the thing is, white America can no longer ignore it. You can't keep pushing it under the rug because it's not you. You can no longer ignore it. It's right there in front of your face. Now, if you call yourself a Christian, if you call yourself a follower of Christ, do the Christ thing. At the end of the day, Christ said, vengeance is mine. So if something happens to somebody, let God take care of it. If that's what you said you are, okay? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, do the right thing by people, whether it's black, white, Mexican, gay, straight, whatever it may be. One thing that's cool for me is that because I am African American, I have a level of empathy for everybody. It's kind of, I don't know if it's forced that way, but it's because I want people to have empathy for me. I will have empathy for others. So even if a person comes up to me and they don't like to have the money I think they should be, I'm not going to treat them any differently. Because I wouldn't want anybody to treat me any differently. If a gay guy comes up to me, gay woman comes up to me, I'm not going to treat them any differently. At the end of the day, they still have a mind, they still have a brain, they're human, and they have feelings. Okay? And what's the golden rule? This is what we're taught, the golden rule. So where does that apply when it comes to African Americans? Would you want this to happen to you? Would you want that to happen to your son? Would you want that to happen to your cousin? And I can tell you the answer right now is no. Okay, and I can George Floyd, because what America tries to do is they try to bring up someone's past, okay, and paint this person out to be a bad person. In Mr. Floyd's case, they try to say he had a bad check, okay, and I always said, okay, if he had a bad check for $20, does it give you the right to kill the guy? Because I can turn around and look at a situation in Charleston, South Carolina. A guy named Dylan Roof goes into a church while they're having church. You can't even be protected in church. Shoots and kills eight members. Police arrest him. They put a bulletproof vest over him and stop him by Burger King on the way to the jail. Where in America does that happen for a black guy? And here's another situation. So like 3 weeks ago in Michigan, when they were thinking about, hey, let's open up the states. Should we open up the states? A group of Americans went in front of the Capitol with AR-15s, assault rifles in hand, and went to the Capitol to demand that they open up the state. Now, on the other hand, there's no bad press on it. Nobody called them thugs, animals, outlaws, or anything like that. As soon as now just imagine this. If you saw me on TV with 3 of my friends that look like me, with guns in our hands, heading toward the Capitol, what would you think the storyline would be? Even though you've got a chance to converse with me, you know I'm a reasonable person, what do you think the headline would be? Do you think I would make it past that day, past that 24-hour period?
No.
So when my grandfathers, my fathers, my great-grandfathers, they fought in the wars to give us freedom. Same thing with yours. Mm-hmm. We live under the same Constitution, the same rights. We just want those rights to be applied to every citizen, and not just who you select for the time being and for convenience. And it's time for America to stand up, and when you see injustice, speak up. Speak up. No longer can you hide it under the rug. Stop living in a cocoon. And I tell guys, you have to start opening up your circle. You can no longer have everybody that comes to your house. I know that you work with black people at your jobs, and you may consider that person a friend, but who comes to your house that you dine with? Who do you go out to eat with? Who is in your softball league? Who are you actually conversing with outside of the forced work environment? You know, we don't really get to pick our employees that we do work, our team members that we do work with, unless you're the CEO. Okay. However, when you get a chance to sit down with the African, just like you did on the plane, you met Tim Scott, and you realize, like, all right, this guy's a pretty cool guy. Just in passing, you may not care about him. You just passed him in the streets, you know. But when you get a chance to sit down and talk to him, like, all right, I can hear your point of view. I may not agree with it, but I can hear it. Okay. And you got an Indian guy that comes to your house. You have a gay guy that comes over to your house. You have, and I'm just saying guy, and I mean guy like a guy or girl. Okay. It's just the thing is like you open your mind up to other points of views. And like I said earlier, it doesn't matter that you still may not agree with me, but that doesn't mean that we cannot be friends. Trust me, we have more things that we are together with than we are apart. So we can't let this one little thing, splinter what could be a phenomenal relationship. And to tell you the truth, you don't need everybody in your corner that thinks like you. Because if everybody thought alike, there would be no change in this world. You got to have somebody who breaks the curve, like an Elon Musk. When that battery was only going for, 50 miles, he said, no, there's got to be a better way. When Space Shuttle said, hey, look, we're going to send a space shuttle up into space, and we'll never use it again. He's like, no, there's got to be a way. We can't be spending $200, $300 million on one ship. I got to be able to find a way to get this down to the earth. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's okay for somebody to think differently than you. Don't penalize somebody for that. It opens up your mind so that you can expand. Versus always being this one cluster, and you think everybody revolves around you and your 50 friends. The world is bigger than just you and your 50 friends. Just because it does not affect you doesn't mean that it doesn't affect people. Okay? So open your eyes and realize that, hey, listen, it affects more than me. It affects humanity. This is an inhumane thing that is happening right now. It's inhumane. You won't treat your dog that way. You won't do it. So why would you let somebody treat a human that way? Our lives are worth more than a dog.
Yep.
You know, I'm sorry.
Yes.
But I'm passionate about that. It gets me every time.
As well you should be, Shaun. As well you should be. We're very lucky to have you in our industry.
I mean, it gets me, but it's like a passion for me. Like, I'm not a big crier. You know, you can ask anybody. I don't cry. I don't really cry. But something I'm passionate about is kids who are sick, and it's not their fault. Like, it's not their fault that they got terminal cancer. It's not their fault that, like, these things are happening to them. And it's not, you know, it's, I didn't have the opportunity to choose what color I wanted to be when I got in this world. I didn't get that opportunity. You know, I didn't get a chance to say, hey, you know, I don't want to be born to a family who's just below middle class in America. I would have chose to be with the upper class. You had a chance to choose what kind of family you wanted to be in. I promise you it wouldn't look like my family. Okay? But despite all the odds, despite all the setbacks, just give me a chance to make a home. Just give me a chance.
Yeah.
I'm strong enough. I can handle a lot of things. But what I can't handle is somebody murdering my son. Remember, that's always somebody's son. That's always somebody's daughter.
Yeah.
You know, whether you get in a fight with somebody or you slap somebody or whatever it may be, always remember that is somebody's kid. At the end of the week, I think we all just want to return home to our families. You know, that's where I am. Let's start with the most obvious thing right now, with our social injustice. You know, stop killing unarmed Black men. Can we at least do that?